I'm back in Photopea.com over here. What I want to do is I'm going to open up a new project. I'm starting, this is for those of you who are just finishing your drawings. You have created your fashion designs, and now we're focusing on one to color. So you're going to make sure that on your devices you have your image saved somewhere, whether it's in your documents, your downloads, wherever you like to save them. So when you're in Photopea.com, it's open from computer. I'm going to go ahead and find the photo that I just took. I'm opening it up. Again, I'm focusing on just one of my designs, so your photograph might have more than one picture in it. In here we have our toolbar on one side, we have our layers window on the other. What I want to do to start off with this is I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. When I get Levels, I'm going to get this little window that opens up. I'm going to use this slider here to make my whites brighter and to make my darks a little darker. Now, you're not going to necessarily be able to blank out all the static and gray of your picture, but you're certainly going to be able to kind of get in there and sort of brighten and darken. I still have some gray here, not a big deal. I'm going to hit OK. And just as a reminder, if you hold down Control and press plus or minus, you're able to zoom in and zoom out of your work. Now that I'm done with my background and I have it set up over here, I do want to go File, Save as PSD, and make sure that I get one. You can see that that downloads right away to your Downloads folder. To start with the coloring, I go to my background. I want to make sure my background's locked. If you forget to lock, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but really for us, it's important to do that. That way we don't really have to worry about messing with the background. Down at the bottom of the Layers window, we have our trash can. We also have Create a New Layer. When you create a new layer, it's like a transparent layer been placed on top of your drawing. You can name this, in my case, I'm going to start with the skirt. So I'm going to double click on the word Layer 1, and I'm going to create the skirt layer. To change the name of the layer, you double click right on the word itself. If you click on the outside of the word, you're going to get something called the Layer Style window, not what you want. We're going to take that layer, we're going to go to where it says Normal. You can see I'm highlighted on that layer. When it says Normal above it on that layer option, I'm going to change Normal to Multiply. Swinging over to my toolbar, I've got these two squares at the bottom. One's usually white and black. I'll click on the top one. That'll get my color picker. I'll decide, I kind of want to go with just a bluish gray for this, and I'm going to hit OK. Whatever color's in that top box is the color that's going to be on your paintbrush. I'll find my brush tool. That's what it looks like. And make sure with the brush tool up top, you'll see the tool brush options. This 15 is the size of the brush. You can make it bigger or smaller. Now, mattering on the photograph you took, your brush's size will not be the same as mine. Once I start clicking and dragging here, you can see I'm painting. With the brush, make sure that your size you can adjust. The hardness should stay at 100%. For this particular part of the project, I'm not going to go over the softer brushes and harder brushes. What I will tell you is this, for what we're doing, we're going to use the hard brush. Now, you want to try to stay in the lines and do a better job than good old Mr. B's doing. But if you should happen to end up being a little bit sloppy like what I'm doing right now, number one, for certain edges, you're going to want to make your brush a little bit smaller. So that way you can really kind of get in there and get the details. But if you go outside of the lines, you obviously can use the undo option. Just that's holding down Control and tapping Z. Just realize that you can only undo what you do today, and you don't have an unlimited amount of undos. You can see your histories right up here, and you can backtrack on your history. But to clean this stuff up afterwards, say if you come in tomorrow and you realize you went outside the edge and you get some parts you don't like, you can go to where the brush tool is, find your eraser tool. Okay, that's what it looks like. Eraser tool also works as a brush. It's also a brush that you should be using at 100% hardness. And then you can click and drag and clean this up. I know a lot of you have styluses. If you have one, feel free to use it. I think it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. If you want to use a stylus, use a stylus. And then you should try to clean up whichever layer you're working on. My recommendation is this. Obviously, see, you can color every color you want on one layer, but I want to be able to come back later on and change colors if I need to. So what I'm going to tell you is that every layer of clothing and every different color should really be its own layer. So as you're working, think about, okay, so I did the skirt. Now what I want to do is I want to do her sweatshirt. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer for the sweatshirt. I'm going to click on layer 1, call it sweater. I'll call it sweater. All right, and then from that layer that's normal, we want to change it to multiply. I'll go ahead, I'll pick a different color. Gray. Let's see, I like kind of like pink and gray, so I'm going to go ahead and I got kind of a neutral skirt. I'm going to go ahead and kind of create a much more livelier top. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay. All right, so it's coming up for me. You know, I want to make sure I know what to do when I have this done. Is that if I run out of time at the end of the period, I got to make sure this is saved. So I'm going to go to File, Save as a PSD, and it's going to just download a new copy of that. So if I close this out and I come back tomorrow, that would be the file I'm going to, but I would go to photopea.com, go to Open from Computer, and I would open up my old project. And that's basically that. Realizing that we're working on the internet and Wi-Fi is an issue, if for whatever reason you lose your Wi-Fi or it dies out, try to keep this window open until you get Wi-Fi back. The other thing I would say, if Wi-Fi has been an issue for you at home, I would tell you to save as a PSD often. With that, I'm going to stop the video, but I'm going to continue working on my project. And I hope you guys do too. We still have about a good 10 minutes left in our course.